Hello and welcome to another video. Now in this one it's going to be a bit of an editing tutorial because a couple of weeks ago it was clear skies forecast for both the Friday and the Saturday night, so I thought brilliant, I'm going to get a couple of videos made and put out on YouTube, a couple of Astro vlogs. On the Friday night we're going to go local to Brimham Rocks, which actually I've only just released a video about, and on the Saturday we're going to go to Calgreen Reservoir again with a mate. And it was a massive fail both nights. So on the Friday, I was too pussy to actually walk into Brimham Rocks by myself. So I ended up just standing by the side of the road and taking a photo, which is what we're gonna edit now. It's a photo that's got some car trails in there and a little bit of Milky Way. But then on the Saturday in Calgreen, when I went with my mate, it was fully cloudy. So I got no footage at all for either of them, so that's why I'm going to make the best out of a bad situation, and we're going to do an editing shot now. So I'll show you the photo and I will then take you through how I've edited it step by step using Lightroom, Starry Landscape Stacker, and finally Photoshop. So let's get into the computer, I'll show you how. Right, so here we go. In the computer now, and I'll just take you through some of the shots I took. So here we go, you can see there's just a little bit of Milky Way there, and then yeah, while I was shooting at the side of the road, a car went past and I thought, oh, you've ruined the shot, but actually that then made me think I'll do a composite of Milky Way and of the car trails. And so what I decided to do, because there is a lot of light pollution there, the Milky Way was really faint, so what I decided to do was take a load of photos so that I could stack them and then use the car trails as the foreground for the shot. So I'll just take you through how many I took. For some reason I decided near the end to change the exposure. Anyway, these are the light trails. Out of all the shots that I got, I think this one is definitely my favourite. So I think we're going to edit this one because it's not too overexposed like the others. I would recommend, if you're going to be stacking, shoot about 30 shots and then we get a decent outcome. And don't do what I've done here, which is really stupid, and change the exposure halfway through. So I'm shooting up here at 20 seconds, ISO 1250. And then, yeah, here I've stupidly gone through and changed the exposure. From the 20 seconds, ISO 1250 that I was shooting at, for some reason I changed the exposure down to 15 seconds, probably because I thought it was too light polluted. I've dropped a bollock there because you can't stack images with different exposures, so don't do what I've done. Shoot all of the shots at the same exposure and then you can stack them later. So these are all the photos. What I'm going to do is do a quick edit on the shots that I'm going to stack, and I'm actually going to use my Astro LUT that I have given out for free on another video, and I'll link that video up in the top left. And from using the LUT straight away, I can see that the white balance is off, so I'm just going to switch that over to auto. But apart from that, I'm reasonably happy with how that's edited the shot. You can see a bit of the Milky Way there. I'm just going to pull the highlights down a little bit and maybe mess about with a little bit more, but not much else. And then I'm just going to sync that across these photos and then across the rest of the photos, but not the ones where I've changed the exposure. Okay, now that I've done that, what I'm going to do is select all of the photos and then I'm going to export them, but I'm going to make them easy to find, I'm going to do a new folder. I just call it whatever. And then I'm going to export all of these as TIFF files so that we've got the most amount of information to play with in the stack. So while I'm waiting for those to export, what I'll do is I'll have a look through the car trails and I'll just quickly edit that photo. So there's not really a whole lot to do with it. I'm gonna mess with the highlights, I'm gonna play around a bit with the whites. There's not really a whole lot to do with it, to be honest. I might put a little bit of clarity and dehaze in. And then maybe mess around with the saturation a bit and the white balance. And I'll just play with the HSL sliders. But really, I don't think it's going to make it look much better. So I'm not going to do anything too crazy with these. I think I'm just going to leave it. Okay, so now they've exported, what I'm going to do is open Starry Landscape Stacker. This is a paid program. I think it's 20 or 40 quid. Let me just double check. It's 40 quid. So actually it is really expensive, Starry Landscape Stacker, but I've not found anything else that's as easy and as good as this. So it took me probably a couple years to decide to drop the money on and buy it, but I'm glad I did. It is a good program. But yeah, there are other ways that you could stack. So you could stack in Photoshop if you want, and I've got videos on that if you search for them. Okay, so I'm just going to read those images into Starry Landscape Stacker. And then, because they're TIFF files, they're a decent size, so we're going to have to wait quite a while for it to read through them all. So I'll speed this bit up. Okay, so once they're in, it will ask you what the focal length is in millimeters. So if the camera has a manual lens on, it hasn't got any connectors, so it's not feeding any information through into the EXIF in the files, then you'll have to let it know what the lens size was. So in this case, because it's a Samyang, it's got no contacts, it's 20mm. So I'm just going to run that through, and then what Starry Landscape Stacker does is it pops all these dots. It tries to decide where the sky is, and it pops all the little dots on there, and you can then erase or add little dots to tell it where the sky is. But actually, looking at that, it's done a really good job. So all I'm going to do is click Find Sky, and then I will just finish off where it didn't quite get it all right, choosing the sky, which is there with a little blue bit, and then all you do is click Align and Composite. Wait for them all to align, and there you go. It's not a major difference. Again, I've not done enough shots here. I should have done 30. I did do 30, but I changed the exposure. So don't do that. Right, okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to save that. You can have a look through the different composition algorithms, but generally I use the mean, min, HAW, and noise. And I'm just going to save that image as a TIFF file onto my desktop, and then I'm going to drag that back into Lightroom. Okay, so I'm just going to do a few little edits on it now. I do have a much longer editing video as well, actually. It's probably like a half-an-hour video that goes in depth about each of the sliders in Lightroom. So I'll link that again, top left, see if you want to go a bit further into each of these. But all I'm going to do is try and get rid of some of the light pollution, but then also try and bring that Milky Way out without just going ridiculous amounts on the contrast. So I'm going to have to reduce the contrast of the dehaze. Obviously lots of clarity as well to try and make that Milky Way pop out. Okay, so once I'm happy enough with it, I'm going to go back to all photographs in the library, and I'm going to find my shot with the car trails in. I'm going to select them both, and I'm going to choose Edit In and Open as Layers in Photoshop. Okay, so what we've got there is the car trails underneath the Milky Way shot. So all I'm going to do is just add a layer mask to the shot with the Milky Way. I'm going to select the brush and then make sure that it's a black color, and then I'm just going to start painting in. So you can mess around with the hardness, the opacity, the flow. Actually, I'm going to need to change the opacity on this, and I'm just going to paint in the bottom layer. I think I'm pretty happy with that. So once that's done, I'm going to go and flatten the image, and then one last little tip of what I always like to do in Photoshop is just find the dodge tool, which what that does is increases the exposure of the highlights in the lighter areas. So as you can see there, I've set it to 22 exposure, and I'm just going to paint over the Milky Way. Actually, that's not quite bright enough. Normally it is, so I'm going to bump that up now. There you go, 61. I'm going to start painting that in. Ooh, no, that's a little bit too much, but I'm just going to have a quick swipe over the trails as well. And yeah, quite like that. I think I'm happy enough with that. So all I do now is press Command and S, and what that'll do is that'll drop that straight back into Lightroom. And there's my picky there. And I think I'll just do a couple little edits. So, okay, so with there being so much light pollution, in this shot. I think I'm just going to embrace it and just drop a couple radial filters on there and just absolutely pump the temperature, make it look a bit more orange or yellow. Yeah, I think that's all right. Just going to try and take some of the contrast out of the sky a little. Pop a little bit more purple in as well, but I think that's it. So there you go. That's it for this photo. I'll stick it on Instagram. Okay, so that's it for this week's video. I hope it was helpful in some way, and I'll hopefully see you again very soon. Take care.